What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Chris, as always with me,
Liam.
And today we are diving into Handmaid's Tale, Season 6, Episode 10, the series finale. Now, if you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. We are a show about shows, and what we did with Handmaid's Tale was kind of an experiment that many of you liked. And so, jumping into this season, I had never watched a single season like coming up to this. I did a 20-minute preview on YouTube. Liam had seen every episode up to it. And so we had two very different perspectives walking into this final season. And it's been a hell of a ride, and I really enjoyed it. And we're going to dive into all the specifics here in just a second. But if you're brand new, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you on that video. Let's go.
So stay tuned to the very end where you'll find out whether Chris is diving into season 1 or not, which should be fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so we got some surprise cameos. We got a lot of things wrapped up, so many loose ends. We have some people getting acceptable redemption starts. I'll say starts.
Oh, I'm not arguing with you.
No, I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it.
Yeah.
They're good starts. Like, obviously not full redemption arc, but it's a freaking excellent start and definitely a good step in the right direction. We've known plenty of people in our lives who have been complete assholes, dicks, fucked up their life, and came back and became the better version of themselves so many times.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So that's why I'm okay with certain redemptions in terms of things, right? So yeah, but we start off with a whole bunch of just catching up and some quick little snippets. I predicted that we were going to get like a whole bunch of, montages type stuff of kind of, but not really, is what we saw in this one. I was excited to see all the loose ends start to get tied up. They're definitely not all tied up yet.
Right.
And so I am even more excited about the new spinoff, The Testaments.
Is it really a spin-off, or is it truly just the sequel, since it technically is the next book in the series?
I don't know. I think of it more as a spin-off because it's in the future.
Okay. See, let us know in the comments, because it's always interesting to hear someone's different perspective on things, because when I hear spin-off, I hear you created this piece of content, this piece of, media, and it did so well that you decided to take that concept, that universe, and create something parallel to it, where this is just like the sequel of it. So that's why I was interested to hear what you thought.
I think a time jump would help make it qualify.
Okay, yeah. It's an interesting perspective. This episode, for me, was a little bit rough. Obviously, knowing what you guys know about my experience with this show, I have no previous context. So in an episode where you are tying up loose ends in a lot of places, I don't have the beginning of those ends. Like, I don't have the beginning of that. So the loops that are being closed for everybody, I never opened them. So for me, because of our amazing audience and the comment section, thank you guys so much. This has been an amazing season to ride with you with. This, I know who Emily was. So I wasn't too taken back when the Gilmore girl, that's what I know her from, showed up, and I knew I made the connection that was Emily, right? And so that little arc made sense to me. They got to talk about that. To be honest with you, there's one thing that really didn't make sense to me, and then there was a scene that really stood out to me.
Okay.
And the scene that really stood out to me only happened because the thing that didn't make sense happened. But the scene that really stood out to me was June and her mom, and just the heartfelt speech from her mother about truly changing her perspective on what she had just been through. Instead of her looking at herself as kind of a victim, although she doesn't represent herself as one, she still had that heavy trauma on herself. She didn't really perceive herself as someone who could pass on knowledge and inspire others as a warrior until her mother really spoke it into her in that scene. She'd always had that like drive, the savior's drive of a warrior, but whatever you want to call that balance there. But that scene for me, I was like, oh, this makes sense. And now I was like, I bet you if I go back and I read the first book, it's most likely put into the perspective of June, and it's her memoir. So now I'm thinking, again, I have no prior knowledge of this, but what I was thinking during that whole scene was like, this was a nod to the fact that this is how the books were created in the first place. is kind of June's mom saying to her, this needs to be documented. This needs to inspire others who may be, looking for their children and never will give up. And, with that just powerful speech there, I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. It's making it full circle. It's making everything connect. And I was like, that was really cool.
So never read the book, watched all the series, and knowing only from the comments that season 1 is literally the book. Everything else was written after. Just being able to know that has made it harder and made me question whether, wait, was that the nod to the book like you were just saying? And I honestly don't know, but I got the same sense. But the speech with the mom I thought was really cool. Should we end up find out at the end into season 1 that we end up watching season 1, then you will find out more about the mom and stuff like that as we go through the stuff. We see her in later seasons as well for just a tiny bit, but yeah, it will make so much more sense should you watch it.
Yeah. The thing that I didn't wrap my head around, I was struggling with this episode, and it's more of like a tactical, like, if I were in this situation, would I do this thing? And maybe that's not the way to present myself into that. And I've tried not to do that this whole time because I can't put myself in their shoes. But then I was like, okay, now we're talking war tactics. And so I get that. And so I'm like, oh, why are we bringing our loved ones down?
I struggle with that too.
I'm like, we just took back Boston. Like, we just took back Massachusetts. We have plans to move ourselves west, maybe south, and start taking more. And we flew everyone who was safe down and created a liability, like,
into the hostile zone that's surrounded by enemies.
No sense.
I didn't get that either.
And so now it's like everyone's happy and they're all together, but it's like, no, like at any moment you are surrounded and outnumbered.
Yeah.
Like that made no sense to me at all.
They have still the capabilities of what the U.S. military had. They still got the weapons and all that stuff. They could just bomb the crap out of Boston and be done with it.
And then they did all of that just for June to basically say goodbye to her daughter again because she's going to keep. And I was like, then that didn't make any sense.
Did Luke just break up with her?
Yeah.
It felt like it.
He basically said that we're not the same people we used to be and that he was going to go continue his mission. Their love for Hannah keeps them connected, but I don't believe that they are together anymore. Like that was what that speech represented for me.
I got that feeling too, but at the same time, I was so confused because it wasn't cut and dry. It was, we'll see.
Yeah, they have other things on their mind right now other than like whether or not they're going to remain married, right? Like they also are still in a active rebellion, which is why I don't get why they flew everybody in, but I will leave that alone and I will go back to the story. And yeah, in that conversation, what I gathered is that they both came to terms with the fact that they are both very different people who have now been forced to live very different lives and are going to go in very different directions. And if they do live to come back together, then they'll see what happens. But if not, then they love each other, but it's to go get Hannah now is the big mission. And they're going to do it in separate ways. So, he's doing Mayday, she's doing military.
Yes. I love the fact that we got to see Emily again. Emily was a huge part of season 1 through 4.
Yeah.
And so I was so excited that we got to see her. I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
Because, oh my God, you will love her. But we got to see her. And when June got woken up in the middle of the night, like, hey, we got to go.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we need a familiar face. It's like, the hell's going on? Immediately I was like, okay, something either happened with Luke, Hannah, Nicole. Janine was last on my mind, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just because immediate family and the way they just like, hey, we need a familiar face. I was like, uh-oh.
That's when I knew it was Janine. At first, I thought Luke got hurt. I'm like, shit, Luke just had this speech. He went off with Mayday. He got hurt.
He got captured.
Something happened, right? And I was like, shit, Luke's done.
He was top of my list.
And then as soon as they said familiar face, I'm like, oh, they're meeting with Gilly. I'm like they're either getting Aunt Lydia or they're getting Janine. Because they talked about both of them being captured. And they had them on the board. So I'm like, one of those two are getting picked up right now. And I thought it was going to be both of them, but Aunt Lydia went back.
Yeah.
Which I didn't see.
She got released from the eye, they said.
Yeah.
Which, that feels sloppy to me. That part feels sloppy. Why would she be released from the eye? What did she do? How did she curry favor? How did she end up talking her way out of it?
Well, I guess maybe that would be some insight we would need from you guys as well. But the thing I gathered from that, because they talk a lot about the remaining commanders being rounded up and executed, that they had a bunch of people in prison who were like loyal to Gilead. So my thoughts were that because there was such a diminished presence in that area, that the remaining like eyes and loyal Gilead members are basically like trying to work out a treaty to keep themselves alive. Right. So they're like, we'll give you these prisoners if you let us go to DC instead of killing us, kind of thing. That's where I was going with it.
There's no
but I could be completely off. Yeah.
There's no confirmation at all. But we get her showing up, and then Lawrence's marriage of convenience. I can't ever remember her name. She was never important to me. And we have her holding Charlotte.
Yeah. I cried. I legit cried. Like, I mean, I wasn't bawling, but I was choked up during that scene. For
I
sure.
got choked up.
Yeah.
And when Janine looked up, and June's like, "Hey, turn around.
Look who's here."
I just got the chill again.
Yeah, man.
I feel like go from
what a
my
scene.
neck down.
Yeah, that and the scene with the mom both had me choked up. Like, I was like, dang, like goosebumps and everything. I'm like, this is good writing.
That you're invested.
It was great writing. I mean, knowing that it isn't even from the source material, like this had to be created with obviously the author's permission and direct influence. The writing was phenomenally done. I like some of these, especially the dialogue in last episode and this episode. Wow, powerful stuff.
Yes. So we have them showing up. She gets her daughter back, which closed a great loop. The apology or thanking Aunt Lydia, which felt like a little bit of forgiveness. She did a decent job, I think, of showing the fact of hesitancy there. Like she was fighting herself. She literally shook her head no as she said thank you. I thought that was a great ad by the actress herself.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about that apology, we should go back to
the other big apology.
Serena.
Yeah, the other big one.
She forgave Serena.
Yeah. So
and I feel like she did it legitimately too. Like it was an honest apology. Like, look, and then she even said to the commander
yeah,
that we got to start somewhere, right? So
there's this, like, I really loved a lot about this episode, and it reminded me of an exercise I did, 7 years ago now, where you go back in your life and you find a person who you felt has like wronged you, and you basically write that story out and then rewrite it in a way where you take full responsibility for it, even if it wasn't your responsibility or it wasn't your fault. And then at the end of it, you come to a place of surrender and peace, where you basically are saying to this person who's definitely wronged you, but you've come into this place of peace where you can say, thank you, I love you, I wouldn't change a thing. And watching June go through this episode and really just come to peace for herself. She's not saying I forgive you or anything, like any of these things to these people for their own well-being. I'm watching June really just shed the weight of her own past every time she says it to these people. And it reminded me of that exercise. And I was like, wow, this is one powerful woman. Not only is she able to survive this trauma and then go back and help others, like selflessly, almost in a martyr's way. In some instances, we've talked about that, but she's also so mentally and emotionally strong that she can forgive others for her own peace, And I was like, damn, like, what a way to end a series. Like, everyone's going to be upset, I'm sure, because we've heard plenty of comments about how Serena doesn't deserve redemption and she doesn't deserve forgiveness and she doesn't deserve any of these things. She got it. She did get it. Now, I agree with you. She's just beginning to actually redeem herself, but in June's eyes, she is forgiven. And that's really what she was after. So she did get her redemption she was seeking. But at the same time, she's also dealing with the karmic weight of her choices, as we saw at the end of that episode. She doesn't have a place to stay. She doesn't know where tomorrow is going to bring. She is a nobody. She is just a mom now. And is that a fate worse than death for her? We'll see in Testaments, I'm sure. Or at least we'll hear about it, I'm sure.
I hope so. I really do. When Serena was talking in June, part that I really liked was she's like, I don't know who I am anymore. And June's just like, just be a mother. Yeah. Just be a mother. That got me too.
Yeah.
This was a very emotional episode for sure. So when I was watching last night with Barb, she had some confusion about the house. She's like, why is that house important? And I was like, oh shit, you don't know.
I don't either.
The house where it all started.
I figure that part I kind of connected. I'm like, oh, this must be where Fred and Serena originally lived. This must be where the first ceremonies take place. This must be where you meet her. So that part I kind of just pushed it back. Cause I'm like, all right, cause he did say back where it all began for you. I was like, okay. When Mark says that to Commander Mark says that to her, I'm like, okay, got it. And then she walks around it and there's moments where she's like almost in shock, but then smiles and like moves through it. And I'm like, she must be remembering. So I'm like, I get that. And then the part where she sits down and starts to record the book, that was like, let's go.
Great suggestion from Luke. His last gift to her.
Yep.
I personally believe before he goes off to fight and probably dies.
We'll find out in Testaments.
Maybe.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we at least get some of these loops closed in Testaments on these characters.
So when she's doing that, she mentions Fred. And Barb's like, did she just say she's Alfred? I'm like,
No, of Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I explained the whole thing. I was like, look, if she was a handmaid for Nick, she would be of Nick. And she's like, oh, okay, that makes so much more sense. Because like you, she never watched any of the seasons before, but I think it's fair. What do you think? What you want to give that part?
What's up? Oh, yeah. I mean, if we're wrapping up this part, then yeah, let's jump into the surprise at the end, right? So yeah. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in and coming on this ride with us and being graceful in not spoiling what's to come and allowing me to just experience it and then kind of rooting me on and giving me some encouraging words and some insightful information. So just thank you guys all. And then really we had over 140 comments on that last video. And, they weren't just people saying, hey, great video. A lot of you guys pour your time and effort into sharing your thoughts. And I just want to say thank you. This has been a really awesome ride. And because of that, and because of all of your suggestions, I am going to go back and watch season 1. So starting next week, we will start reviewing season 1, moving forward all the way through. You'll get my real reaction in real time. Of course, Liam's already seen it, and you'll get to see how I kind of piece things together and kind of put these loops together and the questions that may come up now that I do have some knowledge of how the series ends, but not the story. So if you're interested in checking that out and you have not yet already subscribed to our channel, go ahead and do so. We're going to be dropping those videos every week. I would like to ask you a question and would love your input as always. Would you rather that we review it episode by episode, or would you rather we do 2 episodes at a time, or a whole season? Whole season would probably be tricky, especially because the kids are on summer break. So my time is a lot more dedicated to them since they're not in school right now. And that's my number one priority. So that's always there. But I think we could do 2 episode reviews at a time.
Possibly. We've never attempted 3, have we?
Yeah. So,
well,
I think we have.
I don't think Murder Bot counts.
Right. But those are 30-minute episodes. But yeah. I think we have. So we've done 3 recordings in a day.
Yeah.
And that maxes my TBI out for sure. My brain's short.
Those were different shows though. It might be easier when we're just giving our take and reactions to 3 episodes.
Okay. Yeah, let's hear your suggestions. Yeah, let's hear your suggestions, and however you guys want it, we're gonna serve it up for you. This was again just a really great ride. I wanted to give a huge shout out. I know we have one of the writers who check in on us, and I just want to say great job and thank you for doing this. It's been an awesome ride, and I can't wait.
Come on, we better get early access to Testament so that we can give a non-spoiler review towards the beginning, hype people up, and then we can give a full episode after.
If you greatly appreciate what we do here, I would appreciate the early access. That would be cool. That would definitely help us out with getting these things reviewed in time, especially with 3 kids, a busy schedule and everything. We do this for fun because we love it, and any advantage we could get to get these out earlier would be awesome. So thank you. But yeah, thank you guys all for being here. We're going to start reviewing season 1. We also are reviewing Murderbot, and any other suggestions you may have, drop them down in the comments. You guys have been great with sharing some stuff. We definitely are going to be reviewing Silo when it comes out, Fallout when it comes out,
the new Dexter,
Alien Earth, new Dexter. There's a lot of stuff that we're waiting to drop because we've highly invested in those series and we want to watch them as well. But would love suggestions, and so drop them down in the comments below. As always, my name's Chris.
Liam.
And if you really enjoyed this, you can let us know with that like button and subscribe. And if you want to check out more of our videos, we have a whole playlist of Handmaid's Tale. You probably already checked those out, but we have them right here, as well as other series that we review. You can check those out right down here. I've mentioned several already. We have those right down there again. And then above my head is some that YouTube said you would like. So we'll see you on that next video. Peace.
Find the strength hiding in each battle scar. You're not who you were, you've already come far.